I'm Mila Kashiwabara. I was 10 years old when I wrote an essay about my experiences with mental wellness during the pandemic. It was chosen to be included in Speaking Our Truths, the Ism Youth Files. Top health organizations like the Centers for Disease Control and the World Health Organization define mental health this way. Mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, feel, and act, and helps determine how we can handle stress, relate to others, and how we make choices. I have had my own journey with mental health during the pandemic. I was 9 years old when it started. The pandemic lasted until I was 12 years old. That's a long time for someone my age. I grew up during social isolation and online learning. During that time, I was without my friends and social activities. This affected me. I was going through a lot of self-love and body confidence issues, and I had written a lot of terrible stuff about myself in my diary. When I wrote my essay, I found out I wasn't alone about how I felt. All the writers of the Ism Youth Files talk about their own experiences with mental wellness. The pandemic affected all of us, especially as kids. If you've been joining us, you know that each person has had differences in their mental health journey, and mental health means something different to everyone. I'm Mila Kashiwabara. I'm Puerto Rican, Cuban, Korean, and Japanese. I was 10 years old when I wrote an essay about my mental health journey during the pandemic. I'm now 12 and a student at West Sylvan Middle School in Portland, Oregon, and I am one of the writers for the Ism Youth Files. Episode 5, A Mental Health Journey. Here are the writers you're going to hear from.
My name is Freya Kong-Sticka. I go to Sunset High School, and I'm from Oregon.
I'm Genevieve Vasquez Arce, and I live in Sugar Land, Texas.
I'm Ella Salco, and we are in Portland, Oregon.
I'm Kara Chin, and I currently attend Lake Ridge High School. I live in Lake Oswego, Oregon.
I'm Danica Leung, and I'm located in Portland, Oregon.
I'm Jernia, and I'm located in Mystic, Connecticut.
I'm DeAndre Avant. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts.
I'm Eric Nielsen. I'm from Livonia, Michigan.
Hi, I'm Caitlin O'Neill, and I go to Oregon Episcopal School, and I live in Tigard, Oregon.
Lately, I have not been feeling like myself. At the most random times, I start bursting out into tears. I have an urge to clench my fists, and I just want to hit something. I say, I can't, and I don't know what I can't do. Sometimes I have a fear of running out of oxygen, and I always get very anxious if I do not have my water bottle with me. I have panic attacks and get shortness of breath. But whenever I did not have my water bottle on hand, the bad things I thought would happen never happened. Since my mom is a psychologist, I knew a little bit about what anxiety was. My mom saying she was worried about me made me worry.
That was me about a year ago when I read from my essay, My Mental Health Journey. In the essay, I talk about my mom helping me get a therapist. At the first session, I thought it would be really awkward, but my mom knew what she was doing. It took us a while because it was important to have a therapist of color as well. We ended up finding a great therapist who was Asian like me. I was a little scared and embarrassed at first. I was going to tell a stranger things I'd never told anyone. Finding the right therapist helped me so much. Many of our writers also sought therapy.
Our thoughts and emotions are not who we are, simply what paves who we are. Who are we? We are the witness, the spirit. Before I knew it, the sun had set. Everything was no longer nothing, nor something.
Freya Sticka forgot how much creative writing helped her until she wrote this poem during the pandemic. She is now 16 years old and a Chinese-American student at Sunset High School in Portland, Oregon. Freya says she was transformed during the COVID lockdown.
I remember when the pandemic started, I felt like I was just an average person who didn't care and never cared at all. I guess kind of a destructive person, not a really healthy person, someone that people don't really enjoy being around. But as the pandemic started, it gave me a chance to become myself and find things that aren't other people. Because I've noticed that if you aren't around other people growing up or not really able to connect with them, it becomes harder to become like them and to understand them, and for them to understand you because they didn't direct you. When the pandemic started, I started to go outside more, and I realized that I may have been kind of lazy or kind of a bad influence to other people before the pandemic, or I might just be to other people, but really who I am is just someone else that isn't really related or can't be connected or described.
Freya, like many youth, did some soul-searching during the time of social isolation. While she went to therapy, she actually did better when life resumed again, and she could see her friends.
Different things work for different people, but a lot of people have kind of made it a standard to just go to a therapist and never really talk about their problems with other people, like friends and close friends. And that's kind of destructive because it kind of takes away that kind of connection and communication you have with other people and how you genuinely feel.
Being in isolation was hard for 14-year-old Genevieve Bosco Arce in Sugar Land, Texas. Being with her family every day, all day long, made her rethink what is expected of her as a Filipino American. Genevieve spent a lot of time working on her graphic novel. She titled it Consequence of Culture, and in it, she listed society's expectations that she experienced into 5 rules.
So rule 1, do not be hurt, you must be obedient. What I meant by that is growing up in a very discipline-based home curriculum, we were kind of forced to shut out that creativity as well as speak only when we're told to. Rule 2, study, you must be smart. Being an Asian, it's very easy to fall into the rabbit hole of I need to get perfect grades, I need to excel academically. Rule 3, you must not drown, a good girl solves her own problems. Rule 4, swim. The water's quite comfortable actually, because if you embrace who you are, then the waters that drown you don't really drown you. You are swimming essentially. Lastly, rule 5, be the difference.
Working on these rules and drawing her artwork onto index cards was one way Genevieve coped with lockdown during the pandemic.
Mental health is a very serious issue for me and for a lot of other people, especially in this generation. In the summer of 7th grade, I started having depressive episodes because even though I didn't talk to my friends, I still missed their company and I still missed who I was around them. And mental health, it's truly a revolutionary thing because mental health is just as important as the foundations of ethnicity and culture.
The Acoma Project published a mental health report in 2022 titled State of Mental Health for Youth of Color During the Pandemic. About half of the youth experienced moderate to severe depression. Symptoms include low energy, feeling hopeless, poor sleep, and feeling generally bad about themselves. In the last image of Genevieve's graphic novel, she drew a young woman floating towards self-acceptance. Genevieve describes the critical thoughts that led to this image.
Being enveloped in appearance, thinking, oh, my eyes are too small, my skin is too dark, I'm not good enough, is suffering under our own hands, which I believe is the only foolish action to do. So what to do in spite of that and in spite of that is to stay true to yourself and to love who you are, because in the end, you only have yourself. So might as well embrace your culture, your ethnicity, the people who love you, and how you love yourself.
Ella Selko in Portland, Oregon went to a Montessori school before the pandemic. During the lockdown, she and a couple other students created a social pod and held class in her mom's home office.
There were 4 tables. One person was at each table, except 2 people had to sit at one table. We all had our separate computers that we brought from home. In the morning, it was hectic because we were all where's our chargers? We need more outlets. Like, what's the Zoom link and stuff? You would just join, talk a little bit, and then you would have to stay on the Zoom while doing work assignments. And then our teacher would come get specific people and put them into breakout rooms to give lessons.
During this time, Ella created a graphic novel. It was titled Smile. She drew it in pencil, and it captured her emotions after the murder of George Floyd. Here she describes what she drew.
then this is her like just curling up and like having like a breakdown, I guess. And then she gets up and like kicks something out of anger and doesn't notice that a plant on the table leg she kicked was on the edge of the table, and that kick made it fall over. And then the dad hears the crash and says like, "Hun, what happened? I'm coming in." Then on the next page, there's a picture of the plant with the broken pot and dirt spilling out of it. And then she like turns around and just hugs him. And the dad, even though it doesn't know what's going on, he tries to like comfort her. "You're okay. Can you tell me what happened?"
Ella says both creating the graphic novel as well as writing in her journal helped her to process her thoughts and feelings. The last image Ella drew was about what comforts her.
My cats help like comfort me when I'm not feeling the best. And sometimes when I'm feeling overwhelmed, I write stuff down. And there's a picture of a cat, and journaling can really help take some of the stress off of your shoulders too. Sometimes it's hard to put like your emotions in words. So just try to get the things that have really been bothering you and try to put them into words and then write them down. It can be in like a letter form, but you can also just like write your thoughts down, and sometimes it helps.
Writing as an outlet for your feelings came up for all the writers, but they also spoke about the desire for self-acceptance. 17-year-old poet Kara Chen in Lake Oswego, Oregon, describes the cultural pressures fighting both self-acceptance and getting help.
It's about understanding yourself and understanding that you can hurt and not seem like you're hurt on the outside. And it's also about acceptance and empathy, because especially I know in like Asian culture, it's seen as like a weakness. Like if you can't see the blood, you're not hurting. But especially with like COVID, and especially with just like a growing acceptance of things that aren't visibly obvious, but we know do affect us, I think that it's really hopeful to me to look forward to mental health care being more accessible and mental health being less stigmatized in the future.
There's a lot of stigma toward mental health. That's one of the barriers written about in the ACOMA Project report. 18% of youth in the report said they would think less of someone who sought mental health treatment. This is why it's important for the writers in the Ism Youth Files to speak up about their mental wellness. It can help reduce that trauma.